Hi guys, welcome to another video. In this video, I'm hopefully going to give you some top tips on how to increase your healing as a resto druid, and just tips in general on how to play defensive, how to get the most out of your heals, and maybe some good macro usage that I've been using the past couple of days. Hopefully this will help you and you can put this into practice. Like I say, I may not give the perfect examples of how to do things, but hopefully you get the idea of what we're trying to achieve here, and the consensus is this will help the community of druids out there that are watching the video. So first of all, I think it's important to explain a little bit about druid healing, in that we are a class very much about healing over time, and it's all about how many hots you have on to increase the big heals for mastery from stuff like Nourish and Nature Swiftness. So if we have just one heal and then we do a Nature Swiftness, it's going to be a much smaller heal than if we were to have all of our dots on. The same for Nourish. So there are various sequences and ways to use your heal. I have covered that in my previous guides, so please do check that out. What I want to do here is hopefully share some of the more complex macro usage and how to do stuff. I want to go over kind of Cyclone usage as well, as I think Cyclone is really underplayed in a lot of druid guides, and it's both a defensive CD and offensive CD. So just to cover Cyclone usage first, really, I think it's really good to have multiple macro usage of Cyclone. So I've got a focus macro usage, and I've also got another macro which basically shouts who I'm going to clone in an attempt to communicate better, right? So I think these are essential. Honestly, normally I switch between both. I mean, you can, if you want, you can do this. So we can add that into there, and as we spam it, we can let the party know what we're going to do. Obviously I'm not cloning here, so it's nice stuff. I'm not cloning here, so you can't use a macro, but a really good example of how to use this would be, so let's say you're playing 2v2 and you go in, let's say you're against a priest and a warrior. So a really good way to play this with for example, a survival hunter is you could go in, you could rake the priest, instantly charge the warrior into a bash, providing the warrior is close enough, and then you can clone off the priest. Or what you can do is you can just rake clone the priest times 3 times. Generally the warrior will probably try and push back, and your hunter can throw a trap straight under the clone. That's another really good way, and they could be kiting and doing that. So what we've done there is we've created an immense amount of pressure for getting those opening CDs, and this will give you a huge huge chance to get all your hots on your warrior in between the clones, or your hunter in between the clones, sorry. You could even root the warrior in between, and you could just get yourself nicely set up on position so the healer is already behind. This is kind of the really beautiful thing about playing hunter resto, is you can get these sort of openings if your hunter allows you and follows up with the correct CC. Defensive ways of doing it: if for example your character has been your DPS has been chased, you can rake stun into clone. You can do this from a bash, so you can bash off into a clone. If you've got no heals available, or you're being dispelled and you've got no other defensive, you can throw up a clone just to allow you to get the chance to heal back, because again the clone cannot be dispelled, it can only be trinketed. So these are really good uses of clones. And another real good way is to allow, if you're playing with a cleave class, you can clone the low HP enemy, and allow your other class to do damage for a series of seconds and then switch to clone. However, the chances are at high ratings, particularly the ratings like 1.8k and above, people are going to be throwing down the kicks all the time. So that kind of leads me nicely on to the next thing, which is fake casting. Now, fake casting clones is really, really important. You have to bear in mind how long the spell actually takes, and that human reaction generally can take about, half a second. So 9 times out of 10, if you try and fake cast and you only get 20% of the spell down, you're not going to get interrupted. So you want to get probably 40 to 50% of the way through the spell and then stop casting, and then the chances are you've baited out the kick. I do this with DKs because they have both a stun and a kick. And this is just generally really good uses of kind of fake casting. So wait till you get to that kind of 40-50% mark, and then from there you can obviously drop the clone and then reclone straight away. So this is a really nice way, even if you've been attacked as well, use a clone. You don't always have to get a bash into a clone. There are multiple things you can do, so I like to incap into a clone. I have a macro as well that basically does wild charge and bash. Now I will show you this. So all I do, press Shift X. Am I not targeting that? I thought it was. I'm not sure. Oh, sorry, it's got to be my focus. So my focus macro for Shift X is if I press Shift X twice, I will charge into a bash. Now the reason I've done this is charge and bash have bash has very low 10 seconds, but what's nice is it just allows you that extra mobility, and the chances are if you're going to use bash, you want to get there as quick as possible, because if you're in stealth you should be using rake the whole time. You shouldn't be wasting a bash from stealth, hence why you should always rake the healer, bash the DPS if they're close, and then clone off the healer instantly. The clone takes about 1.75 seconds to do if you've got around 20% haste, so bear that in mind when you're recloning. That's really important. You want to start your clone just after the big debuffs gets to under 2 seconds, and the chances are you will clone them perfectly and stop them using another CD to prevent that, because chances are they'll be spamming kick if they see you cast. So again, you can fake cast that, you can root. Other options you can do to get the clone. This is a really nice one, which do you know what I wish I could see more druids doing, but you can basically Ursul's Vortex underneath the target, keeps them there, and then you can clone them back. And if it's a warrior, they're not going to kick. Fair enough if it's a spellcaster, but chances are they're not going to kick. You can also root set as well. I prefer playing with roots because I've got a macro that will kind of root everything. Just to quickly show you a couple of the macros I was speaking about. So this is my bash macro. Where is it? Focus bash, so you can see out focus wild charge. So this is only for a focus target. If I'm running in, I get a rake, I can spam this and I will wild charge over and get the bash, and then I can get the reclone. Where's my... so I've got another macro. Mass entangle, this one. So this basically will mass entangle anything within the range, so if I go in for a DK I don't always have to target. This is just quite nice, and I play with that pretty much all comps. Honestly, it's comp dependent though. I just feel mass entangle offers me a better CD usage, so when I'm in the defensive, and a lot of the time if the enemy heal is getting pressured, they're very unlikely to dispel that. I think that covers kind of all the usage of clone, and hopefully that gives you an idea of how to use it as both a defensive and an offensive spell. And you should use clone so much in your games, whether you're fake casting. If it's against a warrior, you can use it to get spell reflect, which is another amazing usage. So I think probably the next thing worth mentioning to druids is, and I see this a lot, especially with a lot of new druids, is the fact that people cannot tank, and people say, oh, you know, I just die, I die. The reason you die is because you're not playing bear form correctly. Now, what a lot of people do is they sit in bear form and they don't heal themselves, they don't, and they just tank and die and get stunned in bear form and die. You only want to go into bear form if you've got your hots on. The idea is that the damage you are taking will be less than your HPS, your heals per second. So what you want to do before you go in bear form, let's say I see a warrior, this paladin coming towards me, okay, and so first of all, my first defensive is going to be, can I root him, can I slow him, can I bash him? Okay. If this isn't the case, what I'm gonna start to do then is instantly put rejuve on, and as I'm running away, I will either keep my life blooms up. You only need 2, you don't need to stand there and cast 3, and you want to be moving while you're casting. So while I've got those 3 hots on, I'm gonna instantly go bear form, and at this point the paladin's already connected to me. I'm already getting 20 to 30k HPS per second. And you know, at this point you want to be backskinning instantly on him connecting. You don't want to be pre-backskin, that's a waste. As he's connecting, you want to do it. Don't, you know, he doesn't want to be halfway across the map and you're like, oh, he's going to run for me, I'm going to backskin. That's really bad cooldown usage. While you're also doing this and you're seeing them come towards you, you want to be making your way to a pillar. And this is what's important. Many of the pillars are similar dimension to this. Now, what you want to get used to using, and this is really important, so if we go back to that scenario of you've got your hots on, you run to the pillar, this is where you play, you then want to get into the habit of using your movement speed to go around. So let's say the paladin's chasing after you, he's coming round, you're going to be switching in and out of forms with the cancel form macro. You're going to be going around, the paladin's going to get really tired very quickly of chasing you, and what you want to do is, if he does come and you get to the other side, you want to be tapping A and D. Now what this actually is going to do is it's going to force the paladin to think you're going one way or another, and you're just going to fake him out. And because your movement speed is better, I promise you, they're just going to then run across the map back to your DPS. And this is when it's hilarious, because you will root him, you will bash him, you will clone him, and you've then got so much CC and so much time for your DPS to be putting pressure on that healer. And this is how you want to tank. If it's a small map and you're getting focused a lot, you should still be able to keep yourself up. If you're taking damage in 2s, your DPS is not taking damage. 90% of the time, this is it. And the problem is, people think, oh no, I can't jump out of bear form, I have to put my heals on my DPS. Screw that. If you die, you lose. Okay, your DPS can take a hit and then you can heal them during that. I very much, when I'm in bear form and if I'm getting low and I've got the hots on and they're still hitting me backskin and I get below 50% HP, what I will tend to do, sometimes I will use nature swiftness, or I will transform out of form, re-hop myself and jump out, even if they're still hitting me. Because you want to keep the heals up and just keep the time you're in bear form getting healed longer. Okay, it doesn't increase it, but the armor and the damage you're gonna receive from that is really good, and this will help mitigate a lot of the damage. I've been playing, especially climbing towards 2k. I played games this morning. I had 8 DK games. We won half, lost half. The DK was on me for the whole game. The whole entire game on 2 of the small maps, the bridge map and something else. And I saved Mass Entangle for when the DK does his abomination limb, and then I'm dropping down. I'm just making life for the DK to connect to me really difficult. And you know, I'm ensuring I keep alive, because if I'm alive, I can heal my teammates. And this is how you need to play. So you need to get yourself the cancel form macro which is right here. Yeah, this one. And you put it on a button, and you just want to practice and really get it into your muscle memory of getting those hots on, getting the two rejuves on, getting life bloom on, and then going prioritize getting 2 rather than 3, because the heals are very similar. People think that they have to waste mana getting an extra one, so I'm just going to show you that now. So right, so these are heals from 2 life blooms, so let's look. So 5.1, 5.3. Okay, so let's see what it kind of goes up to. So you can see now 6.9k. Let's put a third one on. Heals 300 more. 300 more. That is, I promise you, that is barely worth it. So if you're going in a mana dependent match, seriously, just put 2 life blooms on. If you're going to struggle to drink because you're against an affliction warlock, a shadow priest, or a DK with disease, use 2 life blooms. It's fine, your mana will be good. You will save mana in the long run, because I can promise you, you're going to be spamming the shit out of this. Okay? And also when it gets dispelled, it also blooms as well. So I think that probably covers how to clone, how to kind of open in targets, and how to play defensively. And I know people may be thinking, well, and there's still lots of questions. You need to practice, you need to get yourself in an arena, and you need to practice how to do this stuff. You don't need to be an expert. Focus on healing, focus on defensive play, and also the builds that I've shared. So this build in 2s, it's super tanky, it's super defensive. I have I have nearly a mil health when I go into bear form in PvP. That is insane. So, you know, this build is very much based around, we're not doing damage through this build, we're just living and healing. And honestly, ultimately, if your hunter's good, you won't need to do any damage. If your warrior's good, you won't need to do any damage. It's better that you drink and heal and you live, because later on in those games, dampening becomes where druids can thrive, because you're gonna kite, you're gonna get those self-heals. And honestly, right now, if I play the games right, I can Holy Palace and Priests. However, if I'm getting a lot of pressure on, it's the other way around. So bear that in mind. Always try and drink as a druid, all the time. If it's 30 seconds into a match, a minute into a match, drink, because that is a win condition. And that is the final thing I'm going to leave you with. If this guide has been helpful and this discussion has been helpful, please do comment, like, and subscribe. Also head over to my Twitch, where I stream most days of the week. Thanks for watching, guys.